The great window of Andorian Station curved in a perfect arc, offering a view of stars that stretched forever. Commander Ellis stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his blue-tinted scales catching the light as he gazed at the empty sector of space. 50 years of service to the Galactic Union, and the last 20 had been spent watching nothing happen in this forgotten corner of the universe. Another boring day in paradise, he muttered to himself. The command center hummed with quiet activity. Officers tapped at screens without urgency. Some chatted about sports matches happening worlds away. The air smelled of the sweet food paste that Officer Reed always ate during his shift, a habit that annoyed Ellis, though he never said anything about it. "Sir, the quarterly reports are ready for your approval," said Reed, approaching with a data tablet. The young officer's green uniform was perfectly pressed, his four-fingered hands holding the tablet with unnecessary formality. Ellis took the tablet without looking at it. "Anything worth mentioning?" "Same as always, sir. No unauthorized entries. Standard trade vessels passing through the marked lanes. One minor asteroid collision in the outer belt, but the automated systems handled it." Ellis nodded and pressed his thumb to the tablet, leaving behind a small flake of scale. 20 years since our last security alert. Must be some kind of record. "The Union Council says peace is good for business," Reed replied, reciting the standard line. "Peace makes soldiers soft," Ellis said. He turned from the window and looked around the command center. The defensive systems console was covered with someone's lunch container. The weapons station was being used to display a game of chance between two junior officers. "Look at this place. Half our systems are running basic diagnostics instead of active scans. When I started, we ran combat drills every cycle." "With respect, sir, the last major conflict ended before either of us was born," Reed said. Ellis grunted. The young officer was right, of course. The Galactic Union had spread across 17 sectors of space, absorbing or defeating any civilization that resisted. The only threats these days were pirates near the major trade routes or the occasional natural disaster. Andorian Station was positioned at the edge of Union space, facing only unexplored stars and one insignificant solar system containing a developing world called Earth. "What do we know about Earth these days?" Ellis asked, surprising Reed with the sudden change of topic. Reed blinked his large eyes twice. "Earth? The primitive world in System 12983? Not much in the reports, sir. They achieved basic space travel about a century ago, visited their moon, sent some simple probes to nearby planets. The Union made first contact 50 years back and classified them as a Category 3 developing civilization. Meaning? Meaning they're at least 5 centuries from achieving technology that would qualify them for Union membership," Reed explained. "The assessment team found them still burning fossil fuels and fighting among themselves. Their space program was determined to be more symbolic than practical." Ellis nodded. He remembered the assessment now. The Union maintained minimal observation of Earth, checking in every decade or so. The last report noted they had established a small base on their red neighboring planet, but hadn't progressed much further. Their weapons still relied on chemical propellants and crude nuclear designs. Their computer systems were primitive compared to standard Union technology. "Why do you ask about Earth, sir?" Reed questioned. Ellis shrugged his broad shoulders. "Just making conversation." The truth was more complex. Last night, Ellis had dreamed of Earth. In the dream, he had seen ships rising from the blue planet's surface, thousands of them darkening the sky. He wasn't superstitious, but the dream had left him uneasy. His species had occasional premonitions, though Ellis had never experienced one himself. "Sir, we have an unscheduled arrival," called out Officer Tarn from the sensor station. The sudden alertness in Tarn's voice made several heads turn. Ellis moved quickly to the station, his old military instincts awakening. "Show me." The screen displayed a small vessel approaching from the direction of System 12983. It moved at sublight speed, using a propulsion system that left a distinct energy trail. The ship's design was unfamiliar, sleek and gray, with none of the colorful markings typical of Union vessels or the aggressive styling of known pirate ships. "Origin?" Ellis demanded. Tarn's fingers moved across the console. Checking registry now, no match in our database. Wait. Analyzing the composition and design. Sir, I believe it's from Earth. A murmur spread through the command center. An Earthship? This far into space? The Earthlings had barely mastered travel to their neighboring planet. Impossible, Ellis said. They don't have the technology for deep space travel. Their fastest ships would take decades to reach us. The readings are clear, sir, Tarn insisted. Materials and radiation signature match Earth origin. And look at this. He pointed to an image captured by the long-range scanners. The ship had markings on its hull, simple letters in the Earth language called English. The Harbinger, Ellis. Felt a chill run down his spine as he remembered his dream. Weapons scan? None detected, sir, Reed reported, now fully alert at his proper station. It appears to be an unarmed vessel, small crew complement, reading only 5 life forms aboard. Their shield technology is minimal, barely enough for standard meteor deflection. Ellis relaxed slightly. An unarmed ship with 5 crew members posed no threat to a Union station with over 200 personnel and defense systems that could destroy a small moon. They're transmitting a message, sir, Tarn announced. Audio only in standard Galactic Union trade language. Play it, Ellis ordered. A clear, confident voice filled the command center. Andorian Station, this is Captain Miller of the Earth. Vessel Harbinger. We come in peace as explorers and request permission to dock for repairs and cultural exchange. Please respond. The officers looked to Ellis. This was unprecedented. Earth was not a member of the Union. They had no rights to dock at a military installation. Protocol dictated that they should be directed to a civilian port at one of the trading worlds where their technology could be properly assessed. But Ellis was curious. How had an Earth vessel made it this far? Their last assessment had shown nothing close to this capability. Sir? Reed prompted. Shall I direct them to Trading Post 7? Ellis considered for a moment. No. Grant them permission to dock at Auxiliary, Bay 3. Full security protocols, I want to see this Earthship for myself. Sir, regulations state, Reed began. I know the regulations. Ellis cut him off. But something doesn't add up. Earth shouldn't have this technology. I want to know how they got here and what they really want. As orders spread throughout the station to prepare for the unprecedented visitors, Ellis returned to the window. The small Earth vessel was now visible as a tiny speck against the backdrop of stars, growing larger as it approached. Too small to be a threat, he reassured himself, but too advanced to make sense. What Ellis couldn't see was what happened inside the Earth ship as it approached. Captain Miller sat in the command chair, his eyes closed as the neural interface connected his mind directly to the ship's systems. Around him, 4 crew members similarly interfaced with the Harbinger's advanced systems. Atlas, Miller subvocalized to the artificial intelligence that was the true brain of the ship. Begin passive scans of their defensive systems and communications. Record everything. Scanning initiated, Captain, responded the AI directly into Miller's mind. Their technology is exactly as our intelligence suggested, outdated, inefficient, vulnerable. Miller allowed himself a small smile. Perfect. Earth's first real step into the galaxy begins now. The ship continued its approach, looking simple and harmless from the outside, exactly as planned. The most dangerous ship Earth had ever built entered the system, and the Galactic Union had no idea what was coming. The docking bay hummed as the Harbinger settled onto the landing pad. Andorian Station's artificial gravity pulled at the Earth vessel, making its metal skin creak slightly. Commander Ellis stood with a small welcome party, Officer Reed, security, Chief Adams, and Technician Williams. All 4 watched with professional curiosity as the ship's airlock cycled. Remember, Ellis said quietly to the others, these humans have never been this far into space before. Be patient with them. The airlock hissed open, and 2 figures stepped out onto the station deck. They wore simple dark blue uniforms without badges or decorations, just a small patch on their shoulders, showing Earth's continents in blue against a black background. Ellis was surprised by how normal they looked. He had seen images of humans, before, but meeting them in person was different. They stood upright like many species in the Union, with 2 arms and 2 legs. Their skin tones were different, one lighter, one darker, and they had hair on their heads, but nowhere else visible. They looked soft, vulnerable, without natural protection like scales or plates. The taller human stepped forward first. Captain James Miller of Earth vessel Harbinger. Thank you for allowing us to dock, Commander. His voice was deep and clear, his face showing what Ellis recognized as a human smile, a non-threatening expression. Ellis touched his chest in the standard Union greeting. Commander Ellis, Andorian Station Command. This is my second officer Reed, Security Chief Adams, and Technician Williams. The second human nodded at each introduction. Lieutenant Lisa Jackson, Navigation and Communications, she said. Her voice was lighter than Miller's, but equally confident. Ellis noted how steady they both seemed. Most species made their first, deep space journeys with wide eyes and shaking limbs. These humans acted like they had done this many times before. Your message mentioned repairs, Ellis said. How can we assist? Miller nodded. Our propulsion system developed a minor issue. During the journey? Nothing serious, but we'd appreciate access to your technical facilities. Of course, Ellis replied, gesturing to Technician Williams. Williams here will show you to our repair bay. But first, would you honor us by joining me for a meal? It's customary in the Union to share food with new visitors. We'd be delighted, Miller said. As they walked through the station corridors, Ellis noticed both humans looking around with careful attention. Most visitors stared at the ceiling heights or the viewing windows. These humans studied the door mechanisms, the communication panels, the security scanners. Your station is impressive, Jackson said, though her tone suggested she wasn't actually impressed. It's one of our older installations, Ellis admitted. Over 200 years in operation. The newer stations in the central systems are much more advanced. I'm curious, Miller said casually. How many ships pass through this sector? Ellis considered the question. It seemed innocent enough. Perhaps 20 trade vessels in a standard month. Occasionally a Union patrol cruiser. We're far from the main space lanes. They arrived at the station's dining hall, a large room with views of the surrounding stars. Food processors hummed along one wall, producing meals customized for different species needs. A few off-duty officers sat at tables trying not to stare at the human visitors. After they were seated with food, Ellis decided to ask some questions of his own. Your journey here is quite remarkable. Our records show Earth has only achieved basic interplanetary travel. Miller took a bite of the synthesized protein the processor had created based on human nutritional needs. He seemed unsurprised by the taste. Earth has progressed significantly in recent years, Miller said. We found that necessity drives innovation. When resources became limited on our home planet, we had to look outward. And develop faster-than-light travel, apparently, Reed interjected. Our last assessment showed Earth decades away from such technology. Jackson smiled. We've always found that other species underestimate humans. It's a pattern throughout our history, even among ourselves. Ellis noticed that neither human actually explained how they had achieved their apparent leap in technology. He tried another approach. What is your purpose here beyond repairs? Earth has no formal diplomatic relations with the Union. Miller set down his eating utensil. Exploration and learning, Commander. Earth is ready to engage more actively with the wider galaxy. We hope this journey will be the first step toward more formal relations. A noble goal, Ellis said, though unusual to send such a small ship. Most first diplomatic missions include cultural advisors, trade experts, military attachés. We travel light, Miller said with that same confident smile. And we learn quickly. After the meal, Williams escorted Miller and Jackson to the repair bay, while Ellis and Reed returned to the command center. What do you think? Ellis asked. When they were alone, Reed's large eyes narrowed slightly. They're hiding something, sir. Their technology shouldn't exist based on our information, and they ask too many questions. But they seem peaceful enough, Ellis noted. The most dangerous predators often appear harmless until they strike, Reed replied. In the repair bay, Miller and Jackson worked on their ship while Williams watched from a respectful distance. The technician was impressed by how quickly the humans' hands moved over their equipment. Your systems are quite unique, Williams observed, coming closer. I don't recognize this type of propulsion manifold. It's a recent development, Miller said without looking up, based on principles our scientists discovered in deep-sea research. Williams blinked in confusion. How does ocean research apply? To space travel? Jackson smiled. Pressure differentials, energy conversion, microcurrent manipulation. The principles are surprisingly similar. None of that made sense to Williams, but he nodded anyway. May I? He asked, reaching toward a panel. We appreciate your interest, Miller said firmly, but our technology is somewhat temperamental. Better if we handle it. Williams backed away. Of course. Let me know if you need any tools. When Williams stepped outside to speak with a colleague, Jackson turned to Miller and spoke in a whisper. Atlas reports the station's defensive systems are even more outdated than we expected. Their sensor grid has blind spots large enough to fly a carrier through. Miller nodded slightly. And their communication encryption is basic. Atlas has already cracked it. Every message in and out of this station is being recorded. Jackson's fingers moved across a panel, though she wasn't actually repairing anything. They don't suspect. They're curious about our technology, but they're not alarmed. They see us as an anomaly, not a threat. Miller glanced toward the doorway where Williams had disappeared. How much longer? Jackson closed the panel. The quantum beacon is already deployed. It's mapping their entire network. 6 more hours until complete scan. Perfect. Miller straightened up and raised his voice to normal levels just as Williams returned. I think we've got it fixed, Technician Williams. Thank you for your patience. Williams smiled, showing teeth that seemed too sharp for his otherwise gentle face. Wonderful news. Would you like a tour of our station while your systems stabilize? We'd be honored, Miller replied. As they followed Williams through the station's corridors, Jackson's right hand occasionally brushed against wall panels and security scanners. Each touch left behind a microscopic device, no larger than a dust particle, that attached to the station's systems. The devices were bioelectric, powered by the energy field all electronic systems naturally emit, undetectable by the station's outdated security scans. Back in the command center, Ellis stared at the human ship on the monitor. The Harbinger looked so simple, so harmless. Yet something about it made his scales itch. He remembered his dream, again, the fleet of ships rising from Earth. Just a coincidence, he told himself. Run a deep scan on that vessel, he ordered Reed suddenly. Reed looked surprised. Sir? That's against diplomatic protocols without cause. Humor me, Ellis said. Reed hesitated, then nodded. Yes, sir. As the scan began, neither of them noticed the small alert on a secondary screen, an alert indicating unusual data flows within the station's communications network. The most dangerous ship from Earth had already begun its real mission, and no one on Andorian Station suspected a thing. 3 station cycles had passed since the arrival of the Harbinger. The humans, Miller and Jackson, had become a common sight around Andorian Station. They asked for tours of different sections, joined off-duty officers for meals, and shared stories about Earth that seemed designed to emphasize their planet's struggles and limitations. But Officer Reed wasn't fooled. He sat alone in his quarters, reviewing data from the deep scan he had run on the Earth vessel. Most of the results showed nothing unusual, a simple ship with modest technology. But there was one anomaly that kept drawing his attention. Every 6 hours, the Harbinger experienced a brief power surge. The surge lasted only seconds and was so small that the standard scans missed it entirely. What are you doing, Earthship? Reed muttered to himself. A chime at his door interrupted his thoughts. Enter, he called. Technician Williams stepped into the room, his usual calm expression replaced by worry. Sir, may I speak with you privately? Reed gestured to the empty chair across from him. What's troubling you, Williams? Williams sat down and lowered his voice. It's about the human ship. I've been helping them with their repairs, but something doesn't make sense. Go on, Reed said, suddenly alert. They claim their propulsion system is based on principles discovered in their oceans, but I've studied the energy readings. It's not like anything in our database, but it's far more advanced than they pretend. Williams leaned forward. And I noticed something else. When they think I'm not watching, they're not actually repairing anything, they're gathering data. Reed nodded slowly. I've noticed power surges from their ship every 6 hours. Any idea what could cause that? Williams' eyes widened. Quantum communication requires energy pulses to stabilize the signal. The Union experimented with it a century ago, but abandoned it as impractical. You think they're communicating with Earth from this distance? Reed found it hard to believe. That's technology even our best scientists haven't perfected. I don't know, Williams admitted. But yesterday, I saw something on one of their screens before Jackson shut it down. It looked like a complete schematic of our power grid. Reed's pulse quickened. We need to inform Commander Ellis immediately. In the Harbinger, Captain Miller sat with his eyes closed, neural interface active, as Atlas shared the latest findings directly into his mind. Scan complete, Captain. The AI's voice echoed in his thoughts. I have mapped 94% of the station's systems and downloaded 87% of their database. The Galactic Union's border defense strategy is remarkably uniform and outdated. Miller processed the visual data Atlas provided, detailed schematics of not just Andorian Station, but the entire sector's defense network. What about their weapons capabilities? Significantly overestimated in Earth's intelligence reports, Atlas replied. Their energy weapons are powerful, but slow to charge. Their shields cannot withstand sustained attack from multiple vectors. Most concerning for them, they have no effective countermeasures against quantum phase technology. And the wider Union? Based on the data here, the Union maintains control through size, not technological superiority. They have not made a significant military advancement in over a century. Their strategy relies on overwhelming numbers and the appearance of invincibility. Miller smiled slightly. Earth's gamble had paid off. For decades, Earth governments had maintained a public image of slow technological progress, all while secretly developing innovations that leapfrogged Union standards. When the Union observers came, they were shown old rocket technology and outdated computer systems, Potemkin villages of technological backwardness. Transmission to Earth Command ready, Atlas informed him. Shall I proceed with the final data package? Send it, Miller confirmed. And prepare departure protocols. We have what we came for. Commander Ellis was reviewing the station's quarterly supply requests when Reed and Williams burst into his office without announcing themselves. Sir, we need to talk about the Earth ship, Reed said urgently. Ellis set down his tablet. What's happened? Reed quickly explained their concerns. The power surges, the advanced propulsion system, the schematics Williams had glimpsed. They're not here for repairs or diplomacy, Williams added. They're gathering intelligence. Ellis felt his earlier unease return stronger than ever. Where are the humans now? Captain Miller requested a tour of our communications hub, Reed replied. Officer Tarn is escorting them. The communications hub? Ellis stood abruptly. Lock down that section immediately. I want security teams there now. As Reed rushed to the command console to issue the orders, Ellis turned to Williams. What else could they access from the communications hub? Everything, Williams said grimly. From there, they could potentially download our entire command protocols, defense codes, Union communications encryption keys. Ellis hit the station-wide alert button. Red lights began flashing throughout the complex as the security lockdown engaged. Sir, Reed called from the console. Security reports the humans are no longer in the communications hub. They're heading back to their ship. Stop them, Ellis ordered, and prepare a full security sweep of all systems. Miller and Jackson walked quickly but calmly toward the docking bay. Behind them, alarm lights flashed and the station's computer announced a security lockdown. They've figured it out, Jackson said quietly. Miller nodded. Doesn't matter. Mission complete. Atlas sent the final package. As they rounded the last corner to the docking bay, they found Commander Ellis waiting with 6 security officers, all holding standard Union energy weapons. Captain Miller, Ellis said formally, his voice cold. I must ask you and Lieutenant Jackson to surrender yourselves for questioning. Miller stopped, keeping a respectful distance. Is there a problem, Commander? Your ship has been transmitting unknown signals. You've accessed restricted systems, and you've misrepresented your planet's technological capabilities. Ellis stepped forward. Those are serious violations of Union security protocols. Miller's friendly expression didn't waver. We've done nothing hostile, Commander. We're simply visitors learning about our galactic neighbors. Then you won't mind if we conduct a thorough inspection of your vessel? Ellis replied. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Miller said calmly. We're scheduled to depart immediately. Ellis raised his hand and the security officers aimed their weapons. That wasn't a request, Captain. Miller sighed, then pressed a small device on his wrist. Instantly, every light on the station flickered. The security doors that had been locked during the alert suddenly slid open. What have you done? Ellis demanded. A simple override, Miller explained. Your security systems are quite basic by our standards. Ellis felt a cold fear spreading through his body. These humans weren't primitive at all. Who are you really? What does Earth want? Miller's expression became serious for the first time. We are exactly who we said we are, Commander. Explorers. But exploration takes many forms. Sometimes you discover places, sometimes you discover opportunities. Stand down, Ellis ordered his security team as he realized the danger of provoking these humans. Let them return to their ship. Miller and Jackson walked past the security team who looked to Ellis in confusion but kept their weapons lowered. At the entrance to their ship, Miller paused and turned back. Commander Ellis, thank you for your hospitality. Earth appreciates the knowledge we've gained here. You won't get far, Ellis warned. I've already sent an alert to the nearest Union patrol cruiser. The Righteous will intercept you before you reach Earth space. Miller smiled again, but this time there was no warmth in it. I look forward to the meeting. It will be educational for all parties. As the humans disappeared into their ship, Ellis felt the chill of realization. The Union had gravely underestimated Earth, and he had allowed their spies complete access to one of the Union's military installations. Sir, Reed called from behind him. Williams has completed a preliminary system check. The humans planted devices throughout the station. Our database has been copied. Security codes, patrol routes, defensive capabilities, they have everything. The docking clamps released with a loud clang, and the Harbinger began to move away from the station. Its engines glowed with an energy signature unlike anything in Union records. Send the alert to all Union stations, Ellis ordered. Earth is no longer to be classified as a Category 3 developing civilization. They are a potential military threat of unknown capability. As the Harbinger accelerated away from the station, Ellis watched it disappear among the stars. The ship may have been small, but he now understood it represented something much larger. The first sign of a new power entering the galactic stage. And the Union, comfortable in centuries of dominance, was not prepared for what was coming. Captain Thompson stood on the bridge of the Righteous with the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. The Union battlecruiser was the pride of the fleet, a massive vessel with weapons that could reduce a small moon to dust. Its hull gleamed with the polished silver blue of premium Union alloys, and its crew of 500 was among the best trained in the galaxy. Status report, Thompson ordered, his voice deep and commanding. He was tall even for his species, with gold-flecked skin that marked him as from the elite breeding pools of the Central Worlds. His first officer, Commander Parker, stepped forward with a data screen. We've detected the Earth vessel, sir. It's moving at sublight speed on a direct course back to their home system. At current velocity, we will intercept in 17 minutes. Thompson nodded, pleased. When the alert had come through about the Earth spies, he had been skeptical. How could a primitive world like Earth pose any threat to the mighty Galactic Union? But orders were orders, and the Righteous had been the closest vessel to Andorian Station. "What do we know about this ship?" Thompson asked. "It's called the Harbinger," Parker replied. "Small vessel, crew of 5. According to Commander Ellis, they somehow managed to breach Andorian Station's security and steal classified information." Thompson snorted. "Andorian Station is an outdated facility on the edge of nowhere. They probably haven't updated their systems in 50 years. "That may be true, sir," Parker acknowledged, "but the report suggests the Earth vessel possesses technology far beyond what their world should have developed." Thompson waved a dismissive hand. "Stolen or purchased, no doubt. These developing worlds often get their hands on scraps of advanced technology they don't understand. Prepare to intercept. I want minimal damage to the vessel. We need to recover whatever information they stole." "Yes, sir," Parker replied, relaying the orders. The Righteous surged forward, its massive engines pushing it to speeds the builders of Andorian Station could only dream of. The bridge crew worked with efficient precision, tracking the small Earth vessel and calculating the perfect intercept course. "Curious," the sensor officer said suddenly. "What is it?" Thompson asked. "The Earth ship's energy signature, sir. It's unusual. Not matching any known configuration in our database." Thompson frowned. "Can they detect us?" "Unknown, sir, but they've maintained steady course and speed. No indication they're aware of our approach." "Good," Thompson said with satisfaction. "They'll have no chance to destroy whatever data they've stolen." "Weapon status?" "Disabling arrays charged and ready, sir," the weapons officer reported. "Targeted for engine and communication systems only, as ordered." Thompson settled into his command chair. This would be simple. A primitive ship from a backward world caught red-handed in espionage. He would be commended for the clean capture, and perhaps finally earn that promotion to the central fleet he had been seeking. "Sir," the sensor officer called out. "The Earth vessel has changed course. They've stopped." Thompson sat forward. "Stopped completely?" "Yes, sir. They're just waiting." Thompson's frown deepened. This wasn't the behavior of spies trying to escape. "They've detected us then. Open communication channels." The view screen flickered to life, showing the interior of the Harbinger's bridge. Captain Miller sat in a simple chair, looking relaxed and unsurprised. Behind him, Lieutenant Jackson worked at a control panel. The bridge was smaller than Thompson had expected, and oddly uncluttered compared to Union vessels. "Earth vessel," Thompson announced with authority. "This is Captain Thompson of the Union battlecruiser the Righteous. You have violated Union space and conducted illegal surveillance. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded." Miller smiled slightly. "Captain Thompson, we've been expecting you." The casual response threw Thompson off balance, but he recovered, quickly. "You are in no position to resist, Earth Captain. Your vessel is outmatched in every way." "Is it?" Miller asked, sounding genuinely curious. "Tell me, Captain, have you ever encountered an Earth vessel before?" "This conversation is pointless," Thompson said firmly. "You have 10 seconds to comply before we disable your ship. This is your only warning." Miller nodded. "I understand, but I'm afraid we can't allow you to board us. We're simply heading home after completing our mission. I suggest you let us continue on our way." Thompson's patience ended. "Fire disabling. Shot," he ordered his weapons officer. "Target their main engine." The weapons officer's fingers danced across the control panel. The Righteous's forward cannon charged with a high-pitched whine, then released a powerful energy beam directly at the Harbinger's engine section. What happened next stunned everyone, on the Righteous's bridge. The energy beam never reached its target. Instead, it struck an invisible barrier surrounding the Earth vessel and dissipated completely, not deflected or absorbed, but simply gone. There was no shield flare, no energy, feedback, no indication of defensive systems activating. The beam simply ceased to exist. "What just happened?" Thompson demanded, rising from his chair. The weapons officer looked up with confusion. "Unknown, sir. Our sensors show the shot was fired correctly, but it disappeared before impact." "Impossible," Thompson growled. "Fire again. Full power." Before the order could be carried out, Miller spoke from the still open communication channel. "That would be unwise, Captain Thompson. We mean no harm to you or your crew, but we will defend ourselves, if necessary." Thompson ignored him. "Fire all forward arrays." The Righteous shuddered as multiple weapon systems discharged simultaneously. Beams of destructive energy lanced toward the small Earth vessel from different angles. Again, the weapon's fire vanished, before reaching its target. Miller sighed on the screen. "I had hoped for a more productive first meeting between our vessels. Perhaps another time." Thompson stared in disbelief as sensors reported a massive energy buildup within the Harbinger. "Target their power core," he shouted, panic creeping into his voice for the first time in his career. "All weapons, fire at will." But before another shot could be fired, the impossible happened. The Harbinger vanished, not jumped to light speed. There was no flash of acceleration, no distortion of space that always accompanied faster than light travel. The ship simply disappeared, as if it had never been there at all. "Where did they go?" Thompson demanded, his voice echoing on the suddenly silent bridge. The sensor officer's hands moved frantically across his console. No debris, no energy trail, no distortion field. "Sir, there's nothing. It's as if they teleported away, but that's impossible," Thompson finished, sinking back into his chair. "Yes, I know." The bridge crew looked to their captain for guidance, but Thompson had none to give. In his 30 years of service to the Union, he had never encountered technology like this. Not even the most advanced Central World ships could disappear without a trace. Commander Parker approached cautiously. "Sir, we should report this to Union Command immediately." Thompson nodded absently, still staring at the empty space where the Harbinger had been. "Tell them." He paused, trying to find words for what he had witnessed. "Tell them we engaged the Earth vessel as ordered, but it possessed defensive and propulsion technology unknown to the Union. Tell them." He swallowed hard. "Tell them we may be dealing with a civilization far more advanced than our intelligence suggested." As Parker moved to send the message, Thompson continued to stare at the stars. His perfect record was now stained with a failure, but that seemed unimportant compared to the implications of what had just happened. If Earth had technology that could render Union weapons useless and allowed ships to vanish without a trace, what else might they be capable of? For the first time in his life, Captain Thompson felt a cold fear for the future of the Galactic Union. The comfortable certainty of Union superiority had vanished along with the small Earth ship, and he knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Union hummed with urgent voices. Representatives from 17 sectors had gathered in the massive circular room, its high ceiling decorated with star maps showing the full extent of Union territory. At the center, the 7 members of the High Council sat on elevated platforms, their faces showing various degrees of concern. High Counselor Vax, the oldest among them, raised a gnarled hand for silence. The room gradually quieted. "We face an unprecedented situation," Vax announced, his voice amplified to reach every corner of the chamber. "For those who haven't received the full briefing 30 standard days ago, a vessel from Earth infiltrated Andorian Station, stole classified information, and demonstrated technology far beyond what their civilization should possess." Murmurs spread through the gathering. "Earth?" one representative called out. "The primitive world from Sector Kanko 983? Impossible." "Unfortunately, quite possible," replied Counselor Mira, the only female on the High Council. "We have confirmation from both Commander Ellis of Andorian Station and Captain Thompson of the Righteous. The Earth vessel displayed defense systems that rendered our weapons useless and transportation technology that allowed it to vanish without using known faster-than-light methods." The chamber erupted in concerned voices again. Earth was supposed to be centuries away from developing interstellar capabilities. The idea that they had leapfrogged Union technology was disturbing to everyone present. "What do they want?" someone shouted over the noise. Vax raised his hand again. "We don't know. They've made no demands, no threats. They simply gathered information and left." "Are we under attack?" asked another voice. "Not yet," Vax answered. "But our intelligence suggests..." A young aide rushed into the chamber, interrupting the High Counselor. She whispered urgently in Vax's ear. The old alien's eyes widened. "It seems," Vax said, his voice suddenly strained, "that we may learn their intentions sooner than expected. We have just received reports of multiple Earth vessels appearing at the edge of Union space." The chamber doors slid open, and a breathless communications officer entered. "High Council, we're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all Union frequencies simultaneously." "Put it through," Vax ordered. The large view screen that dominated one wall of the chamber flickered to life. A human appeared, older than Miller had been, with gray hair and a weathered face that suggested both wisdom and determination. He wore a dark uniform with silver stars on the shoulders. "To the Galactic Union Council and all citizens of Union space," the human began. "I am Admiral Davis of Earth's United Space Force. For too long, Earth has been dismissed as an undeveloped world, unworthy of notice or respect. Today, that changes." The view screen split to show what was happening at the edge of Union space. 50 Earth vessels had taken position in a perfect formation. Each was larger than the Harbinger, but built with the same deceptively simple design. Scans showed they carried no visible weapons. But after the encounter with the Harbinger, no one in the chamber believed they were harmless. "For centuries," Admiral Davis continued, "humanity has observed the Galactic Union's expansion across the stars. While you classified us as primitive, we studied your technology, your politics, your strengths and weaknesses. We developed in isolation, free from your regulations and technological limitations." "What do you want?" Vax demanded, his voice betraying his fear. "Simple, High Counselor," Davis replied with a slight smile. "Earth now formally requests full membership in the Galactic Union, not as a subordinate developing world, but as an equal partner with full voting rights and sector representation." The chamber erupted in outrage. A Category 3 civilization demanding equal status with worlds that had been spacefaring for thousands of years was unprecedented. "This is absurd," shouted one council member. "You cannot force your way into the Union through threats and espionage." Admiral Davis remained calm. "We're not threatening anyone. We're simply ensuring our petition receives proper consideration. Our fleet will remain at its current position as a symbol of our commitment to this process." "A symbol?" Counselor Mira asked incredulously. "You position warships at our border and call it symbolism?" "If we wanted war," Davis replied, "we would have struck without warning. The fact that we're here talking proves our peaceful intentions." Vax studied the human carefully. "What would prevent us from gathering our fleet and removing your symbol from our borders?" For the first time, Davis's expression hardened. "The same technology that allowed the Harbinger to neutralize your strongest weapons and disappear without a trace has been installed on every ship you see, and many more you don't. We hope for peaceful integration, but Earth will no longer accept the status of a backwater curiosity." The room fell silent as the implications became clear. If one small Earth ship could render the righteous helpless, what could 50 larger vessels do? "We need time to consider this." "Request," Vax said finally. Davis nodded. "Of course. Our fleet will remain at this position for 7 standard days awaiting your response. I look forward to a productive relationship between Earth and the Union." The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. On the bridge of the Earth flagship Determination, Admiral Davis turned to his staff. Captain Miller stood, among them having been promoted after the success of the Harbinger's mission. "Do you think they'll agree?" asked Fleet Commander Wilson, a tall woman with dark skin and calculating eyes. Davis shrugged. "They don't have much choice. Atlas analyzed the data from Andorian Station thoroughly. The Union maintains control through size and perception, not actual technological superiority. They haven't had a real challenge in centuries." Miller spoke up. "They'll test us first. They'll want to see if our technology is as advanced as we claim, or if the Harbinger was just a fluke." "Let them test," Davis replied confidently. "Earth has spent a century preparing for this moment, ever since our first contact with their observers. While they thought we were struggling with basic rocket technology, We were reverse engineering the pieces of Union technology they carelessly left behind. Wilson nodded toward the view screen, which showed the approaching Union patrol ships. Here they come now. Looks like they're sending a welcoming committee. Davis smiled. Standard defensive protocols. No aggressive action unless they fire first. As the Union vessels approached, tension filled the bridge. Earth had gambled everything on this moment, revealing themselves to the galaxy, demanding recognition, risking conflict with a civilization that spanned 17 sectors. But Earth had advantages the Union couldn't imagine. While the aliens saw humans as primitive, they had missed humanity's greatest strength, adaptability. For 1,000 generations, humans had survived by learning, evolving, and overcoming challenges. When Earth's resources grew scarce, they didn't fight wars of extinction. They innovated, developing technologies that worked in harmony with their world. Message from the lead Union vessel, announced the communications officer. They're demanding we power down and prepare for inspection. Davis shook his head. Politely decline. Remind them we're here on a diplomatic mission and are awaiting the Council's response to our membership petition. The Union ships moved closer, taking up offensive positions. They're charging weapons, reported the tactical officer calmly. Davis straightened his uniform. Activate defense field. No countermeasures unless they fire a second time. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, confidence born from knowing their technology was generations ahead of what the Union possessed. Earth had chosen its moment carefully, developing in secret until they were ready to step onto the galactic stage as equals. Sir, Miller said quietly to Davis, do you think they understand yet what's happening? Davis watched as the Union ships circled cautiously, scanning Earth's fleet with increasingly powerful sensors that revealed nothing useful. They're beginning to, he replied. The universe just became much smaller and humanity has claimed its place among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as innovators, the most dangerous kind of species. As the standoff continued, the message Earth had sent with the Harbinger echoed across the galaxy. Underestimate humans at your peril. The most dangerous ship on Earth had been just the beginning, end.